Welcome to the 19th part of the XC restoration, and I have done absolutely nothing. But I do have about 25 minutes of stuff that I want to show you. And mainly what this has been, or what I've been doing in terms of work on the car, I suppose, is I've taken the engine to the engine reconditioning to have all this machine work done. And my lovely perfect 351 block is good, crack free, all that sort of stuff, and that's all been done. But the crankshaft has 4 cracks in it. And there was circular cracks in the counterweights, which happened when it was cast way back in 1977. So some bloke in an LTD's been driving that thing around, not even been aware that it was cracked. Now, in a standard application, driving around, that sort of thing, it wouldn't be a big deal. The engine reconditioner has advised me to get another one. And so I've got another cranker, I got him to get it. And I guess the old one's coming back here, but I'm not going to use it. I've got that junkyard V8 block over there, which I'm going to do as well. Which means finding another crankshaft and rods, all this sort of stuff. He said he knows of a 393 rotating assembly, but that'd be good, a 6.5 litre XD, I suppose. But they're known to be quite expensive, so I'm not sure I'm going to go down that road. And so I've got a little bit of footage, a very small bit of footage that I took on my phone when I was in the crack testing room under black light, so you can see a little bit of it. And here's the crank of the engine builders, and basically they magnetise it and spray on a solution that's full of iron particles to reveal cracks. That's the worst of it there. It's joined up with one of the journals, which was the one that was the worst because the other 3 were just small ones on the counterweights themselves, but this was the one that caused the most alarm, which was the reason that we've bought another crank. It's all good. I've been looking at a few other parts, but I haven't actually bought anything for the car. I've been doing lots of work around the house and that sort of stuff as well, so that's the reason that this is sort of like an intermediate sort of chapter. But the first thing I want to show you is another home movie. And of course we kick off this home movie in, I believe, the early to mid 1986 sort of area, with my mother riding a horse Rexy, and poor old Rexy died a few years after this. He became very lame, which was quite upsetting for Mum. She had to have him put down. But she'd always ridden horses throughout her life, and in fact she's got quite a similar sense of humour to what I had, in that she decided to ride a horse inside her house. She grew up in a rather large house in England, and she took it inside and the parents flipped, which was quite amusing for her. And I would certainly do the same thing if I could, here and at work. I'd be driving cars around inside as well, but that's the way she rolled, and it's a long time ago now. And there's Mouse the Blue Heeler, and my Honda CB354, which I painted, was the very first vehicle I painted in 2 HQ Holden colours, which I was very proud of at the time. And my very first engine swap, a C4 transmission behind a 6-cylinder Falcon engine, a 250 out of my XC, my first XC, and of course I got a GXL after that. I'm marvelling at the empty engine bay. It looked quite bizarre to me at the time. And coming up is the 302 and C4 that went in its place. And this is Jeff Horton, and he and his mother started the Donvale Flower Gallery, one of the most highly acclaimed floral establishments in Melbourne. And there's his car, and I put my dirty hands all over it. And here I am at 18 being stupid, pretending to lick the back of the gearbox and pull my fly down. Here's the finished article. I always liked the stock look. I never ever swayed from that, and of course it's got the big lying 5.8 badge on the side. This car looks better in video footage than what it did in real life. The paint wasn't all that good on it. Don't know why I didn't just take still photos of it really. But I always did like that stock look. Eventually this car became a 351 manual. There's the engine bay there. I did swap that air filter for a standard one. But I ended up putting a 351 top loader and 9-inch in it. And of course I'm just trying to get rid of film here, going sort of upside down and all sorts of things with it, just being silly. But I was proud of that car. I sold it in 1987, and I also had a green, cool mint green 351 GXL. Anyway, hope you enjoy the chapter. It's not the regular type of chapter. We do have to do these parts ones every now and then and assess what we've got. Sometimes the bits we've got aren't as good as we first hoped, but that's the nature of doing up a car that's 40 years old. And so it's not just blindly banging the thing together like you would think, I would guess, but it is, trials and tribulations and little stuff-ups here and there, and also things that aren't really what you thought they were. Also, on that note, one of the carburetors I've got is absolutely shagged. and it's even more shag now because I cracked it. But hope you enjoy it. The next 25 minutes or so. Leave comments if you want and let me know what you think. Any questions I'll try and answer as well. Right, it's time to talk about suspension arms now, and I was originally going to replace all of them, and I'm still going to replace these ones. These are the lower ones obviously, and they've got urethane bushes in them, or nolethane bushes I should say, and they look to be in pretty good nick, but these things are old, maybe a little bit fatigued, I'm not really sure, but they're a bit battered and all that sort of stuff, so we'll put new ones of those on. I had ordered a new set of what was advertised as XABC, but then A and B are different because the C's are the first with this sort of bush here, this type of bush, instead of having a grease nipple on the end, which apparently squeak less than the earlier type. So it means taking these ball joints off. These are non-genuine ball joints because they've been bolted on, and taking these off, pressing them out and putting these new bushes in. They're the bushes there, and of course bolting on a new pair of ball joints. I had, or at least I thought all my plating was over, but I might get these plated just because this XC was supposed to be a cheaper car than XW to do, but it's wound up being the same sort of thing because I've just replaced everything in the end. And so I think it's going to look pretty bad if we have nicely painted new arms with new bushes and ball joints and these manky old threads and all that sort of stuff. So I might get them redone just so that it all looks new the way it's supposed to. So it means first I've got to start taking these apart. Now I never throw anything out until I know without any shadow of doubt that the parts I'm pulling out are exactly the same as the ones I'm putting in. So I'll just check that against the new ones before I throw it out. Just a little coat of CRC on there, just to keep it nice and slippery. It's always a good practice too, just to clean the threads with a bit of with a wire brush on a drill or something like that, just to get the muck off the end of the thread so you don't drag it right through it and ruin it, which I'm about to do because I didn't do it on this or the other. Now what we're going to do after this is take the other side off, and then we have to press these bushes out, clean all the arms up, get these little guys plated, and then we can press the new arms in, or the new bushes in with the arm in place, and do up the washers and nuts. And here are the arms with the ball joints out. They're fairly clean. These pins here have sort of spun around in the process of undoing those nuts, but you can see if I take one of these new ones out, they're the new bushes and they're stepped in the sort of centre shank section, which means they can only get pushed into sort of here. Where's the camera lens? Just into that area there. So I don't like seeing bushes with paint on them, so I'll take these out. It means sort of, I think we've got to press on here first to pop that one, then press back, if you know what I mean, like getting a uni joint, and then I can sort of clean them all up and use them again. But these ones on that centre part of the bush are actually cracked, and they're all crazed in here as well. I think the light's terrible, but you can see all around in there they're crazed. So they really do need a new set of bushes, which are these little guys here. So I'll take them to work. I'm flat out at work at the moment, so it's going to be a bit difficult, but once I get those in, then I can send these off for, or take them out I should say, then I can send these off to be plated and start cleaning everything up. So I didn't want to get an extra thing of, an extra box of parts plated, but while I'm getting those bits done, I might as well pull these carburetors apart and get the sort of all these parts, actuation levers and all this sort of stuff plated as well, so that when we clean the carburetors up and put kits through them, they look the part as well as operating well. Well, here are our stripped down arms. We've taken the bushes out, and I was actually quite embarrassed. I thought it had been a while since I've done these. I don't think I've ever replaced these. In fact, at Ford in, it was a City Ford I think it was, on Yarrowbank Road, we used to have trouble with the odd ones squeaking. You'd undo the nuts and pack them up full of some grease they had there, and then tighten them up and get rid of the squeaks that way. But these bushes have had it, so I've removed those. Or actually Peter McLeod did one. He showed me what to do. I thought we were going to have to sort of punch it or press them out and that sort of thing, and all we did all he showed me to do is just get a cold chisel behind it and knock them straight out. I didn't think they'd come out that easy. I thought these were supposed to be really, really difficult. But they came out very easily, about 4 solid punches in a couple of spots, and so they just flew out. And then, of course, we could remove these once those bolts were out too. So I'm going to get these electroplated. I'm sick of electroplating, but at the end of the day, you don't see them, but it'd just be nice knowing they've got a bit of corrosion resistance. These things should probably be powder coated. I don't know. I might just paint them. They look pretty second hand. They've got they're straight as an arrow, but of course someone's painted them before and they've done a lousy job, so they're ready for reconditioning. I've got the bushes, got the ball joints. Going to send some more stuff out, and we should be in a better position then to get to the point where we can put them on the car. Picked up this wonderful left-hand taillight off eBay for $51, and it's particularly good. All the back of it's in wonderful condition. I've got a whole bunch of these 3/16 nuts here that have been plated, so I can throw these in the next lot, and that can do the next lot I get, and I can replace those and also these ones in here. It's got this particularly nasty sealer, which is that, I think it's that stuff you need together, that 2-part stuff you need together, and I've got to be careful digging that out. I've got a lot of it out now just with a screwdriver, but there's not a blemish on this anywhere. It's really good. The only issue, of course, is it has a crack in the brake part, the taillight section here, but I have another good light from the 2 sort of knackered ones I got before, so I can change that over and just put some new hardware on it and sort of stick it on the car for now. The car hasn't been colour sanded or buffed, but at least it'll get it off the bench and stop it kicking around. But I was particularly impressed with that item. I think it's a bargain. And so I pulled it all apart. There are 1 or 2 stress fractures around some of the fasteners there, which is all to be considered with new gaskets and tightening them up and all that sort of stuff. I've got rid of all this 2-part stuff, but it's not cleaned properly yet. All I want to do, as I said before, is just clean the bench off. I've got another left-hand one here that has no cracks at all. It's in perfect condition, although it does need to be sort of buffed. And I can replace that one there and sort of get a result that way. But I am pleased. I'm very, very pleased with this because it looks like it's going to be, if I can figure out how it goes. Is that the way it goes? Left hand, yeah, it goes that way. It looks like it's going to be a real win. And of course, the cosmetic side of it can be done later. I have no intention of trying to do it all now because I'm not particularly interested in that. I just want to get it together in one piece. So I've got a crack-free light now. Some of these old fittings, I've got new ones, or they're actually old ones that have been plated. The screws here, new plated ones, and that's just out of a miscellaneous bag. I didn't know what they were, but now I know what they are. I can bag them and tag them, of course, send those off to be plated as well. And so once I get the other one, and I've buffed the car, I can put them on permanently, and they really will look new. But I'm going to mount them to the car without a I'm going to mount them to the car without a gasket on them, as I said, just to keep the old workbench clean. I've just noticed this has a chip out of it down the bottom. That's the lens I put in. Where's my finger? Don't know if you can see that. That's actually still roadworthy because it's this section here that's chipped. In other words, just that ledge, that leading edge, moisture still can't get into the light, so that's what determines whether it's roadworthy or not. But even so, I am going to look for another lens. Now, one of the issues I have when I make these little Falcon episodes and that sort of thing is the fact that I repeat myself, and the reason for that is because I do a little bit of work one weekend, a bit of work next weekend, sometimes after school. At the moment it's winter, so I don't do as much because it's sort of cold and gets dark early and that sort of stuff. I want to have a look at this gearbox. We've already had a very quick look at it once before, but I want to actually start taking bits off it. And also I'm toying whether to do this. Now this is the junkyard engine. This is a very, very good block. Now I'm about to go and pick up the 351. It's all done. I think I owe the guy about $500. That's about all I owe him still. And so I'll take this in when I pick that up to have it hot tanked and crack tested. I really am tossing up whether to do this at the same time. It's going to put me behind with the build, and of course the XC had a deadline of the shell being painted by Easter, which I was a couple of weeks late, but that didn't matter. It's not really a deadline. And also the other one was that I wanted to have it as a running shell by the end of the year. Now what's happened with that is the 351 was an original bore, There was a tiny lip there, and the cam bearings were shot. So I've actually had it done completely, if you know what I mean. So it's been rebored 20,000s and all this sort of stuff, which has cost a lot more because I did expect it to be a re-ringer. Now this is going to be the same deal. The bores are fantastic, a bit of wear down the bottom, but if we're going to stroke it, then we can't use the original bore, obviously, because it's worn in different places where the other one will need to. The stroke will be longer, so it won't work. Now this came with a shifter. It all works well, but it's been minced around with a bit. It's got this ridiculous radiator hose clamp sort of arrangement here, this Jubilee clip, if you know what I mean. These shifters screw on a nylon thread into this housing, and I think that's been damaged or something's happened to it. I can't immediately see what's going on, but not just that, the shifter's been cut considerably shorter, so I want a standard thing, a standard length shifter. Now the other thing is, apparently XB and C shifters are in a different spot to what D, E and F are, in that they're a little bit mounted further forward, so I'm assuming this housing's different on the later car, or I was told that. I'm not all that sure, but I'll take that as being accurate for now, which doesn't bother me so much. Well, it does bother me because I'm going to have trouble finding one, I would think, but this is sort of a bit suspect here, so I need to sort of pull it off and maybe replace it anyway. So I'll remove this and just try and figure out what its purpose was. Oh no, that's there. Oh, hang on. I'll move the camera and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It might not be as bad as I thought. It appears that this clamp was here to hold those tangs down. I thought it was broken off and it was also held in by the clamp. Now they're the little locking tabs which will undo and then sort of counter rotate it to take it off. If that's the case and this housing's good, I'll be a very happy camper, because it means I've just got to get the actual shifter part, which is a good thing. So I'll just go around and undo these, get some pliers and straighten them out. I don't think I can use this bit again because, as I said, the shifter's been shortened. I could probably cut it and weld a new one on, but I just want it to look original, and in doing that I probably wouldn't get the angle or trajectory, is that the right word, right for the top, because it has been stuffed around with. But I'll go around and I'll just undo these tangs. And of course, the idea of any job you do, these are just aluminium, so I'm just straightening them out to make them, if I am able to reuse it, which is very unlikely, then at least I would hope it's going to be easy to get off. I've just given this thing a bath outside. My experience with single rails is not really that great. I rebuilt a top loader years ago and I've always been more comfortable fiddling around with autos rather than manuals. Here we go. Because I'm more confident with them. What do you call it? Not that confident with manual gearboxes. Anyway, we'll take this out and have a bit of a lookie. All things considered, it's probably not that bad. Anyway, got it off. Nice little shifter. Rum, 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 rum. Filled it up with water when I washed it, which was really, really bright. Oh, I can see where the water went to. Very stupid. Well, that can actually stay there. I'll just keep getting lost. I need to get all the water out of that because I washed it and then I forgot to block up a few orifices, which was reasonably stupid, but we're talking about me. So these bolts here, I've got them electroplated. I didn't want to get another lot of electroplating done, but it doesn't matter that much. I've got all these carburetor bits and I'll show you the carb in a minute. It's a bloody mess. But at least then it's sort of, it'll look all nice and this will clean up properly and that sort of stuff. God. Water. How daft is that? Still, I can dry that all out. That's all good. Cool. That's one thing. I'm actually relieved about that because I thought when I saw that clamp I couldn't see in here, and I'm very, very happy that that is in good condition. Really happy because I thought I was going to have a bit of trouble getting one of those. So that can all be cleaned up properly, because at the moment it's a mess. So I've had this off before. I'm just going to rip it off again and get this thing all ready for a proper close examination. And of course, every time we look at a gearbox, we put new seals in it and gaskets. Just a good tip to bear in mind. There's an aluminium housing, I should say, aluminium housing. And so knock the seal out. Don't sort of try and, I never try and sort of flick it out or anything with these things, so I don't want to crack it. And also I'm careful not to hit the housing there. So they, I think, are exactly the same as what you'd find in the C4 Auto. It's going to take this extension housing off. And hopefully, look, I should pull the whole gearbox down. I'm going to have a bit of a preliminary sort of look at it, because these are exceedingly easy to get out of the car. There's 4 bolts, tail shaft, speedo drive, reverse switch. Pull the shifter out and it's in your hand. And they're very, very easy to take out. So I might take a punt if it all looks good inside. There's not too much movement here and there. I'm actually going to give it an aerosol overhaul. Just a bit of a paint job and some new gaskets and seals, and put it back together and hope for the best. I mean, it's a restoration, so I should have it all done properly. But given the cost of this engine and the fact I'm doing the other one, I'm just trying to save a quid, because if it is alright, then it's alright, you know. And I'm very gentle with gearboxes. But I'll probably end up doing it twice. But at the end of the day, the seal kit's $55. A rebuild's $500, so I'm going to take that chance. Well, that was a bit dumb. I had to take the roll pin off the selector shaft, because otherwise the extension housing won't come off. Didn't see that. So here we go. I'll take this off in a bit of a gander. See what we can come up with. Oops, the shim just fell out. Well, I've taken a stupid tablet this morning. I didn't seal it up properly before I washed it. Of course, I got water through it, which is the last thing I need. I'm just going to spray a bit of this CRC in and act as a dispersant. Just sort of, just make sure that it all looks kosher. It's probably a no-no doing this, I don't even know. Look, there's even fluff in there. What's that? It does look pretty good though. It looks very good in here. Everything seems okay, but then you can't really tell until you start taking it apart. And of course we've got end float all over the joint, because the tail shaft sort of hold, or the extension housing I should say, holds this in. And if I take that off, that front bearing will come out. And I don't really want to at this stage do that, because all your needle rollers are going to fall out everywhere. I know top loaders have, I'm not sure about single rails, but wouldn't at all surprise me. So far so good. What do you think? Should I pull it apart? All the armchair guys would say, oh mate, pull it apart. You're asking for trouble. But if I can save $500 and it's easy to get out later if I need to, I am going to take that punt. Well, I've been pulling this thermoquad apart and it's been horrendous. It's absolutely full of corrosion. I don't know if you can see in there. It's been rained on all sorts of stuff. It is free now, but damaged. It's pretty well knackered. Now, the real tragic part is of course with one of these bolts. These retaining bolts were sort of rusted into the base plate, the throttle body, which, you know, isn't very good. But there is a bit of a silver lining with it. The bowl might be okay. This is the one where the throttle body's got the 5.8 number on it, so if it does clean up, well, we can use that, but I'm sort of doubtful that it will. And I've also cracked the housing. Up here, when I've tried to get this out, I've actually cracked that top housing, so that's stuffed as well. But what we can do is we can get all these parts plated. Well, I mean, all the levers are off. I've got them sitting over there. And so that when we do tackle that one, I don't know if you can see that, it's sort of sitting over in the corner up here. There. When we do that one, then we stand to have lots of newish looking parts, levers and actuators and all that sort of stuff, which you can put on and make one very nice carburettor out of the two. Also, the other one's got a broken breather, and we can take these out and use them. And so all isn't lost. It was $30. I thought, oh, I've done my money, but at the end of the day, it isn't all bad news. We can salvage a lot of parts from this. So I'm afraid to say that's all I've got for you today. Every last cent I've had available to me is gone on that blasted engine, but I do think we're going to end up with a better car if we do it properly. Now, just to recap, I've had the, this isn't this block by the way, I've had the 351 decked, square to the centre line of the crank. Now I haven't had it zero decked. I didn't want to max the block out. I only wanted to get it cleaned up. And of course he's bored it, he's honed it. We've got a new crankshaft which has been ground and all this sort of stuff. The rods have been crack tested. They've got new ARP bolts and they've been resized. New 20 over pistons, new piston rings. We're using Molly because it's a new bore, and they'll be a bit kinder to the bore. I think I mentioned that in the other video. What else? Oh, some other odds and sods as well. Bearings and all that sort of stuff. I don't have a camshaft yet, and I don't have a timing set. I don't have a distributor, and I don't have an oil pump. So they're the bits that I need, and a gasket set, of course. I can't put anything together without a gasket set because, of course, we've got to put the rear main in. Now, all that stuff will be back in time for the next video, and I should have the gearbox back together. I think. I don't know. I'm always wrong with this stuff, but anyway. The next video, some of these videos are going to take a little while to come out because they're getting expensive, and I have a family, so that comes first, of course, before the cars. But yeah, sort of, if I'm not every 2 weeks like I can be, or every month or whatever, that's the reason why. It's because I've got to get some expensive stuff. I've also got to get the wheels sandblasted and powder coated. I've got to get tyres. Got to finish the suspension off so I can roll the thing around. It goes on and on. So bear with me on that. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care of yourself, look after your classic, drive safely, and I'll see you later. Ta-da!